alien spacecraft did not crash in Roswell, New Mexico in 1947.
You know flat earthers, I guarantee it. But you don't know who they are because they're afraid of talking about it.
This is not a test. This is your emergency broadcast system.
Hello and welcome to the 65th annual Subliminal Deception Podcast, your weekly dose of conspiracy theory bullshit. My name is Cody, and I'm joined by my pal Phil. How are you?
Doing good, buddy. How about yourself?
Not doing too bad. We're in the midst of humidity weather, so I've been draining sweat like it's no one's business. Do you have to wear gloves at work?
Yes, I do. I have a pretty dirty job with a lot of chemicals, so I wear gloves most of the day.
Yeah, so I do as well. I wear latex gloves, and it's gotten so, you ever get it, like it's so bad now, I take the gloves off, and my hands are soaking wet, and the gloves are soaking wet from the humidity and sweat.
Yeah, I get that. So I'm actually pretty lucky. We deal with a lot of parts that need air conditioning. So I actually have air conditioning in my workspace. But I do get to the point where my hands get sweaty, and then I can't put on a new pair of gloves because of all the moisture on my hands.
Yeah, I hate that shit. But anyway, Phil, I wanted to talk to you about something that I was watching last night that you and maybe the audience would find interesting. Apparently, it just came out, okay? So, it's on Amazon Prime. It's called, it might be like Alien Abductee or Alien something, and Abductee something another, right?
Yeah.
And it's about, this man claims he's a doctor. I don't know if he actually is or not, but he's a Frenchman who claims he's had 4 separate incidences with extraterrestrials, right?
Okay.
And he claims, listening to him talk during it about his experiences, first off, is pretty fucking wild. But now, he claims that the aliens have given him the Nostradamus astrology prediction guide or something like that, so he can predict future events.
Huh.
Yeah, he claims he predicted 9/11. He predicted the fires in Australia. He predicted the coronavirus. That's how fresh this documentary is, but it's pretty wild.
Does he have proof of his predictions before these events happened?
Yeah.
Or is it one of those post things where?
No, allegedly he has the predictions. Of course, you have to purchase his book or go to one of his classes to understand it, but essentially, he claims that what Nostradamus was doing, obviously we covered Nostradamus a while ago, and essentially, Nostradamus was reading the stars and then making predictions based off that, but he couldn't flat out tell you in his quatrains. Is it quatrains, right?
Yep.
He couldn't flat out tell you in those because they would have killed him during that time period if he did. That's according to this guy.
Yeah, so basically what he's doing is he's making a series of poems that could be construed you could read it and think that it means anything. And then when something happens, he just points to it and be like, oh, see, I told you.
No.
Right there.
No, he doesn't have to. He can flat out tell you.
Okay.
He's saying that Nostradamus had to make cryptic poems because if he flat out said the actual prediction, then he said, what did he say? The French Inquisition or something would have killed him, or Italian Inquisition or whatever, would have killed him immediately.
Oh, so he's not saying the aliens will kill him.
No.
Okay, gotcha. I thought you meant to say that the aliens were going to kill him if he flat out told everyone his predictions beforehand.
No. He said he had to hide them so he didn't get executed, but this modern guy doesn't need to hide them because of freedom of speech and all of that. So,
well, it'd be nice if he would write a book for the future ones and not just shit that's already happened.
He claims he's worried he's going to scare people.
Oh.
With his predictions. And it is one thing he said that was kind of interesting, right? He basically said, we've talked about all the different types of alien species or whatever that we believe exist. Well, according to him, there's only two. There's the reptilians and he called them draconis, but it's basically the Greys, right?
Yeah.
And he says the Greys are the good ones, and the reptilians are the evil ones, and they live on Pluto. And
okay.
Basically, the reptilians feed off people's negative energy, while the Greys are here to try to give everybody positive energy or something like that. Very interesting.
Yeah, I'll have to catch up on that one. I've been watching a lot of Netflix. Well, they have a series. It's from television on there, but it's season 6 of Alone, the one where they're up in the Arctic surviving.
Okay,
it's pretty interesting.
Is that kind of like Naked and Afraid or what?
Yeah, but they're wearing clothes, and they're just filming. Yeah, I know. They're just filming themselves, but they're completely alone, like out in the wilderness, and it's pretty interesting.
How do you think you would do in one of those?
I would last about 3 days, I think, before I would just tap out, probably injure myself. That's probably what would happen is, like, a lot of those people don't tap out because they're hungry or sick. They tap out because they get injured.
Yeah.
So I think I would probably end up getting injured and being like, well, I'm either going to fucking bleed out and this shit's going to get infected, or I'm going to call them to come pick me up. So
I was watching Naked and Afraid maybe like last week or something, and they had these two people, and I think they were in Indonesia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, they both were surviving pretty good. They had picked an area where basically they could hunker down for the 21 days. They had water, they had fire, they had some food or whatever. But the girl on there was getting upset because she wanted to make the challenge harder or something like that. Like she wanted to explore and whatever else.
I think I saw episode I think I saw that one or I saw one similar where the dude was basically like conserving his energy. Like he would spend the hot days sitting in this like pool of water, just relaxing. And then he would do his shit at night. But the woman wanted to actually go out and do everything during the day when it was hot. And they had to end up coming and rescuing her because she was dying of exhaustion while he was just sitting in this pool, like chilling out.
Well, the main thing with the one I saw is she kept complaining that she was bored during a survival challenge. Like,
yeah,
we're not. Let's put this out there. We're not trying to sound misogynist or nothing. It has nothing to do with that. It's just how these people reacted in the survival scenario. I feel like in a survival scenario, you should be doing whatever you can to survive, not worrying about personal entertainment or anything like that.
Yeah, I wonder, she might have just been dragging her bullshit from back home into this challenge.
It could be. I watched one where it was a guy and a girl, and they went to Alaska. This is on Naked and Afraid too, right?
Yeah.
And the girl on that, man, goddamn, she was a badass. She was just like fucking tearing it up, carrying this guy and everything. It was just, she fucking speared a porcupine and they ate it and just, I don't know. It's, I felt bad because it actually showed him like spearing this goddamn porcupine, but it was pretty neat.
Yeah, on that Alone TV show, it actually showed this woman had snared like a rabbit, and usually it pulls away when they kill, but for some reason the rabbit, like, she has her little body cam on and she's looking right at it as she snaps the thing's neck.
Oh,
like, goddamn! And then it shows her like ripping the flesh off of ripping the hide off of the flesh, and I was like, goddamn!
Look, you're in a survival scenario. This is what you got to do.
That's true.
Anyway, one final thing before I get started here. Phil, if you want to experience that to an even more visceral level, watch the movies Cannibal Holocaust or any of the 80s cannibal movies. They literally Cannibal Holocaust literally shows them killing animals, and then the other ones show animals killing each other, or some animals being killed too. It's very, very hard to watch.
Like those old West movies where you actually see them like a horse getting shot from underneath that guy.
Yeah, yeah. I'm kind of glad we've done away with that. That's too much.
Oh yeah, we forgot to mention before we get started and get into it. Congratulations to Jordan on his new baby.
Yes, Oliver James Fox, his son, was just born, a couple days ago on like the 17th or 18th. So yeah, congratulations, Jordan and Amy. Jordan's obviously my one of my co-hosts on Bumblebutt Podcast, the other podcast. Yeah. We all know him.
I've met him once in my life. So
cool dude. Now a happy
he's a
father.
cool guy.
Now he's a happy dad. Anyway, let's get into this week's. I think this might actually be kind of a conspiracy. I don't really know. It's more of a head scratcher. Phil, have you ever heard of the Georgia Guidestones?
Yes, I have. I was about to talk about them, but I'll let you get into it.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. Well, yeah, they're fascinating. I completely forgot they exist. I think I actually heard about them on Ancient Aliens. I think that's the first time I've ever heard of them. But yeah, they're absolutely fascinating. Let me start off here. The Georgia Guidestones are a granite monument that was erected in Elbert County, Georgia in 1980. Now, what makes this particular monument so interesting to so many people is not only do they not know who the real person is to have paid for it to be been erected, but it also has a very weird cryptic message chiseled into it, okay? Now, I'm going to go through kind of the story of the stones before we get into what is actually written on it, which is of most interest. Now,
okay.
the Guidestones are about 90 miles east of Atlanta, 45 miles from Athens, Georgia, and 9 miles north of the center of the city of Alberton. So basically, it's kind of in the middle of fucking nowhere in Georgia, okay? As far as I can tell, it's free to visit. Have you heard anything different? I think it is free to like check it out.
I've heard that it was free to visit also, but that was a few years ago when I saw the stuff about it. So
it's man, I want to see this thing. That's all I know. I want to see this goddamn thing. I think it sounds so cool. But I remember when I was in England visiting you, I really want to see Stonehenge, and then you were like, well, it's like fucking hard to get to without a car and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's hard to get there. Well, you can drive there pretty easily, but when you get there, it's just a pile of rocks. But it's
history, damn it! It's history.
I know it's not really that special, but
yeah. But see, Phil, you have to experience it.
We did end up going to Cardiff, which is not far from there. But
Really?
The thing is, we took a train. So
That's what I'm saying. Like, we looked into it, and it was like you took a train there, and then it was like you can take a bus there, but then you're trapped there for like 6 hours. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, no, that doesn't sound that great.
that would have been a whole day added on to going to Cardiff, and when we could have been doing cooler shit.
We it's okay. We saw that amazing Cardiff Castle, the largest Welsh castle ever made, right?
Oh yeah, that's what we did instead. Yeah,
The one-story castle.
we walked around Cardiff instead.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Anyway, now, in June of 1979, a man using the synonym Robert C. Christian approached the Alberton Granite Finishing Company on behalf of, quote, a small group of loyal Americans and paid to have this monument erected. Now, Robert Christian explained to Joe Fendley, who worked at Alberton Granite Finishing Company, that the structure would act as a compass, calendar, clock, and should be able to withstand any catastrophic world event. Now, apparently, Joe Fendley tried to talk him out of this and even quoted him at a much, much higher price than he normally would have, just to try to discourage him from actually paying to have this shit put up. But Christian said, doesn't matter, I'll do it. So
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Would this be able to survive if the Georgia Bulldogs won the NCAA championship for football?
I don't think so. This last year?
I imagine. No, they didn't win it this last year. I imagine that there would be quite a bit of graffiti on those stones about the Georgia Bulldogs.
I'm trying to think. Who's the coach there?
I have no idea. I know Jake Fromm was their quarterback.
Oh, oof. He's in some hot water right now. I'm trying to think of the running back. I think he was the one everybody loved. I can't remember his name.
Yeah. They had a pretty decent season last year. But
was it 2 years ago they were in the championship, or was that 3 years ago?
They've been in the playoffs for the past few years. Them and Alabama.
Yeah, it's always them and goddamn Alabama. And Clemson.
LSU won it last year.
Oh, right. Why am I forgetting
LSU.
that? Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Joe Burrow. Anyway.
Dabo Sweeney. Yeah.
So basically, he tried to quote this guy for a much higher price, but R.C. Christian said, I'll pay whatever you want because of this small group of loyal Americans had been planning this entire project allegedly for over 20 years. Do you believe that?
What year did you say that he was trying to get this built?
79.
1979?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who the wealthy people back then would have been who would want this built.
Well,
probably
in the conspiracy theory section, I kind of talk about what group we believe this man belongs to. So,
could it possibly be Richard Nixon?
It could be. You know what's funny? Like with the current climate or like the current events that's going on right now in America, we're really learning how bad of a president Nixon was.
Oh yeah, the past 4 years we constantly get reminded every time Trump does something stupid, they relate it back to something that Nixon did.
Yeah, Nixon, man, Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, if Eisenhower would have been such a beast, I don't know if Nixon would have gotten in there.
No, I don't think so.
But anyway, so R.C. Christian delivered a scale model of the Guidestones and 10 pages of specifications that he wanted. Now, the 5-acre land was apparently purchased by Christian on October 1st, 1979 from farm owner Wayne Mullenix. I think it's Mullenix. And Mullenix and his children were given lifetime permission for cattle grazing rights around the Guidestone area. So it sounds like he approached this Georgian farmer, said, I just need this little plot of land for these Guidestones. You can still have your cows meandering around. And the guy's like, fuck it, why not? So
yeah, he probably only needs like a small section just for the stones and doesn't give a fuck about the land around it.
No, absolutely. Well, from the videos I watched, it seemed like that farmer was still alive, and you have like the Georgia Guidestones, and then maybe a quarter mile away is this farmer's house, and he's just like chilling there, doesn't even care. Must have paid him a lot of money, I'd assume.
Yeah, well, I mean, if it was rich people, he probably got screwed over in the end, but
no, I
probably didn't give him all the money he should have gotten for it.
I think they might have been rich people, but I don't think that it was anything nefarious because this dude was trying to just like get these up in secret almost.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
You know
so
what I
these
mean?
weren't just super wealthy people who wanted to build this. These were just normal people who were pitching in.
Yeah, it's allegedly
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The whoever this R.C. Christian is and these alleged 20 loyal Americans, whoever the fuck they are, I don't know. They really wanted this to go up, and we don't know why they wanted it to go up, but we're gonna talk about the conspiracy surrounding it. But the monument was unveiled finally on March 22nd, 1980, to a group of apparently between 100 and 400 people. That's quite a gap of the amount of people that were there to witness the unveiling. You think you could kind of measure between 100 and 400. What do you think?
Yeah, I imagine if 112 people showed up and they just kind of said, oh, there was anywhere from 100 to, oh, geez, I don't know, 400 people. You know, like one of those shit, like accounting tricks where they just like claim that maybe more people showed up. It could be any number.
It could have been just the farmer and one of his fucking cows, and they just said it was 400 people.
400 cattle were grazing in the background, and they counted them all.
Anyway, the monument is 19 feet 3 inches tall, made from 6 granite slabs weighing 237,746 pounds. That is a lot of weight.
Yeah.
One slab stands in the center with 4 arranged around it. A capstone lays on the top of the 5 slabs, which are astronomically aligned. An additional stone tablet, which is set in the ground a short distance to the west of the structure, provides some notes on the history and purpose of the Guidestones. And obviously it makes sense that the structure has kind of garnered the nickname of the American Stonehenge, except for it has writing on it, right?
Yeah. Does the stone that lies in the west, does that have, is it like an astronomical, like is its placement supposed to be like set up for a certain, like so Stonehenge is set up so that you can see like when the solstice, like the sun of the solstice is.
Yeah.
And is it set up kind of like that, like similar?
So I'm going to kind of go into that, but basically you have the main structure of the 4 tablets with a pillar kind of in the middle, and then there's a big slab on top that kind of, I think the one on top kind of just holds them in place. Mm-hmm. But the one to the west is simply like a, almost like, okay, you go to a zoo, you go up to an animal's cage, and they have the little plaque there describing about what you're looking at, all the facts about the animal. That's what the thing to the west is. It's essentially telling you about the structure that you're looking at. Kind of like a guide or whatever.
So it basically like the ones at the zoo where it tells you like where we captured this lion from and turned it into our fucking slave.
Yeah, it says this sleeping lion here takes 14-pound dumps. That would say that on the guide or the stone, their explanatory tablet. That's what they call it, I guess.
And interns Kelly and Kevin go in there every morning to shovel that crap out.
Every time I've been to the zoo, okay, you go to like the big cat section, they're just like regular cats. They're always fucking sleeping.
Yeah.
You ever notice that?
Just kind of waiting around. If they see anything that interests them, they jump on it. But yeah,
we just want to. We want to see them like maul a gazelle or like take down a giraffe or something, man. We don't want to see them sleeping.
Tourist.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be something? Just have a big cat playing with a tourist like it's a little cat toy. That'd be something.
Bopping it on the head.
Okay, now I'm going to start off with the explanatory tablet. So basically, like I said, it kind of identifies the structure and the different languages that are on the main structure itself. It also lists various facts about the size, weight, and astronomical features of the stones, the dates they were installed, and the sponsors of the project. It also speaks of this is really interesting here to me. It speaks of a time capsule that is buried underneath the Guidestones, but the explanatory stone itself doesn't have a date for it. It has a date for when the time capsule was buried, but it hasn't. It didn't say what's in it. It didn't say anything like that, and it doesn't say when you should open it either. So a lot of people aren't even really sure if there is actually a time capsule buried underneath the Guidestone.
Have you heard of that Confederate statue that they just knocked down? And in the base of it was a small time capsule with like
No.
a newspaper and a bottle of whiskey in it, or an empty bottle with a note in it.
Really? What did they release what the note said?
I'm not exactly sure what the note said. I just know that the newspaper and the bottle were from the time when it was buried.
Wow. That's crazy.
Inside, basically it was inside of the base of the statue.
What if, like, I mean, that's really cool, obviously, but what if with them, dismantling all these statues and stuff, what if, like, a real-life national treasure happened? Like, Nicolas Cage appeared out of nowhere and starting to look for, what did he look for, a national treasure? Gold or something?
It was, it was like the buried, like the archives.
Yes.
It was that big, I think, I'm not exactly sure. He had to go look for other, like, little things. He had to look for, like, Benjamin Franklin's glasses. He had to look for the Constitution, like the map on the back of the Constitution. But that'd be pretty funny.
Do you remember that, it was on the History Channel, like the Hunt for Confederate Gold show?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've seen that.
Maybe the map's in one of the statues.
Yeah, little trick here. They spent it. That's what happened.
They kind of needed a lot of money back then, I guess, right?
Every time I hear like people, we're gonna go out and look for this pirate's gold or this pirate's gold, it's like, well, we're trying to figure out where he might have hidden it. I know where he hid it. He hid it in the fucking whorehouse where he bought all of the fucking drinks and prostitutes. That's where they hide their gold.
Yeah, it's like, did pirates share a similar trait to squirrels, where they just bury their fucking treasure, then forget where it is?
For later, and then end up dying.
Yeah, I don't think they operate like that. Anyway, let me kind of go over the details of the explanatory tablet here. Now, on the top center, it literally just says, the Georgia Guidestones. And the center cluster, erected May 22nd, 1980, close to it says, let these be guidestones to an age of reason. Don't know what the hell that means. Now, I'm going to try to paint this picture as best as I can. So, imagine the flat tablet says the Georgia Guidestones and when it was erected, and let these Guidestones be the age of reason, right? Now, in a square around it, there are translations written in 4 ancient languages: Babylonian, Classic Greek, Sanskrit maybe, and Ancient Egyptians, which is literally written in hieroglyphics. So, why do you think they chose those particular languages, Phil?
I don't know. The ancient alien thing among me thinks that maybe that's the time when the aliens were here.
Oh, in ancient times?
Yeah, in ancient times, and maybe the ancient aliens taught humans those languages. Also, those languages are all, like, written on stones around the world, and considering, like, our languages are all just written on either, like, paper or in, like, information forms, maybe they don't think that English language will survive after humans go away.
Hey, that could be. Well, that kind of makes me wonder now, what if they think if humans were to go extinct or whatever, like an apocalypse scenario, and they believe aliens come back or something, or, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's hard to say. Now, I kept mentioning the astronomic features, right? So I'm going to go through what they list that the Guidestones do as far as that's concerned. Now, they have number 1, channel through stone indicates celestial pole. I'm not really sure what that means. I know there's little holes in the main pole around the 4 Guidestones. So maybe they mean you can look through certain holes at certain times and see certain constellations. What do you think? Because that's kind of how Stonehenge is, right?
Well, trying to think, is that, I know that the from like where you're looking at it from Earth, all of the stars rotate around the North Star. So maybe it's pointing up to the North Star.
That could be. I know there's like a little hole in the pole, or there's maybe multiple holes in the center pole that you're supposed to look through, kind of like Stonehenge. Because I know Stonehenge has holes in it, correct?
Yeah, where you can see the sun coming through on certain days of the year.
Yeah, so I assume that's maybe what they mean. Let me go to number 2. It has horizontal slots that indicate the annual travel of the sun. Okay, so maybe that's more what you were talking about with Stonehenge. So you can kind of tell.
That's with the equinoxes and the solstices.
Right. So maybe that's how you can kind of keep track of. Maybe this is the calendar aspect of it, I'd assume.
Yes.
Okay. Now, number 3, sunbeam through the capstone marks noontime throughout the year. So maybe I'm assuming that means when the sun beams through it at a certain point, you always know it's noon.
Yeah. Well, when the sun is at its highest point during, I suppose, a certain time of year, because right now in the summer, the sun is at noon. The sun is straight above us.
Yeah.
But in the winter, the sun is like at a much lower, like it travels much lower in the sky at noon. So.
But wouldn't that matter for your location?
Well, I mean,
because
yes, it does. But if the Guidestones stayed in one spot on Earth, then it would be the same every year.
Yeah, I suppose that's a good point, because Arizona doesn't have really long and really short days like Minnesota does, right? Like, to the extreme, I guess.
No, the further north you go, the more extreme it gets. Like when we were in Iceland, the nights were really long. Like in the wintertime, the nights would be really long. And when I was there during November and December, the nights were extremely long. Like we barely had any time off of work with any sunlight. The sun might come up at like 9 and go down at like 3 or 2. That's kind of what I mean. I remember when I was in Alaska, I think the sun didn't set till like 3:30 in the morning. Yeah, that's during the summer. Yeah. So it's the opposite during the summer. So the closer to the equator you are, the sun is like basically does the direction it is like figure 8s. And if you're like on the equator, you pretty much get the same amount because of the tilt. You get the same amount of light at noon throughout the year.
Dude, I don't know. I feel like I'd kind of hate not seeing the sun go down. I feel like it'd be really hard to sleep. Maybe you get used to it.
I would have a harder time during the winter with like almost no daytime, no daylight.
Yeah, I suppose. I'm trying to think here. During the shortest days of the year here, it's probably like 9 o'clock to maybe 4. So I guess it's not that bad. You know, that's the only daylight you get. Now, the 4 outer stones are oriented to mark the limits of the 18.6 year lunar declination cycle. Now, I guess I did have it in my notes here. The hole in the center column is used to watch the North Star, which obviously changes over time, depending on how the Earth's rotating and all of that.
So all of the constellations rotate around the North Star, and it's the only fixed point in the sky that you see.
Okay. Do you think there's alien life on the North Star?
I don't exactly know.
Is that what
I'm not sure. I'm not
was
sure
for?
if they've actually pointed Kepler to the North Star to see if there's any planets surrounding it.
Hey, did you see that? Like, it was like a science.com article or whatever that's been going around that they believe there is 37 different alien species.
I have seen that. I didn't read it because
kind of interesting. And there was that weird balloon thing flying over Japan I saw like yesterday.
No, I haven't seen that yet. I'll have to look that up.
Pretty interesting. And even the Japanese government came out and said, that's not ours. We don't know what that is.
That's not ours, but we're sure going to try to fuck it.
Yeah.
It's just the Japanese fucking mindset of the thing.
Anyway, let's move on to the main stones, which are kind of the whole point of this thing. Now, what I want you to do is envision the 4 stones. On each side of them is written in 10 different languages, okay? They have English, Spanish, Swahili, Hindu, Hebrew, Arabic, traditional Chinese, and Russian. Okay, so I'm gonna assume they think this covers everybody. What about Portuguese? What about Italian, French, Japanese, all that?
Well, they did hit like a lot of the major language families. So Spanish is the most, because of the Spanish expeditions and all of their colonies, Spanish is the most popular romantic language.
True.
And then English is the most popular Germanic language. Russian is obviously the most popular Slavic language. Traditional Chinese, I'm not sure if that's Mandarin or probably Mandarin. That's the most popular like Chinese language. I don't know if Japanese actually gets thrown in with Chinese. And then did you say like Hindu?
Yeah, Hindu.
Hindu? I didn't know that was a language.
Or Hindi. It says Hindi.
Hindi? Oh, Hindi. Okay. Yeah, so that would be I'm guessing a lot of people in like maybe South Asia speak that.
I would assume so. I don't. Maybe whoever made this, they only liked those languages. They didn't like any of the other ones.
Maybe they thought that those languages would survive after the fall of civilization.
That could be, I suppose. But anyway, let me go through the 10, I guess, kind of commandments that are written on these motherfuckers, okay? So number 1, maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. Okay, that's the one that has the most, people look at and are like, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, that part of it does get a lot of play.
Yes.
I've heard that quite a bit.
Yes. Now, okay, number 2, guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. Number 3, unite humanity with a living new language. Number 4, rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason. Number 5, protect people and nation with fair laws and just courts. Number 6, let all nations rule internally, resolving external disputes in a world court. Number 7, avoid petty laws and useless officials. Number 8, balance personal rights with social duties. Number 9, prize truth, beauty, love, seek harmony with the infinite. Number 10, be not a cancer on the earth, leave room for nature, leave room for nature. Okay, so, I mean, for the most part, 2 through 10, not bad, okay? Number 1, though, like you said, gets a lot of play, kind of makes people raise their eyebrows a little bit.
Yeah, they definitely decided to make that their lead for a reason.
Yeah, you'd think you'd put that at like number 10, so everybody reads it and then gets to that, not just like hit him with that right off the bat.
Yeah, it's almost like using that big headline and then no one ever reads the body of the article. You would think you would want to bury that in the middle somewhere, just so people have to read through it to get something juicy.
Well, anyway, Phil, do any of those strike you as odd outside of number 1?
Well, so from what you said this was erected in 1980. From what I know is 1980 was the start of like the Reagan era, and a lot of like conservative, like religious thought was like really getting pushed to the forefront during this time. We kind of been like, religion had been on the decline since the end of World War II, and like during the 80s was really seen as a time when that shit all started getting pushed back up to the forefront. Also in 2000 with Bush being elected, it kind of also made a smaller comeback, but not really to the extent that we saw in the 80s.
Yes, right. Actually, it's funny you mentioned that because that's kind of where, I wouldn't even say it's a conspiracy part of it yet, but it's kind of right where I'm starting off with basically who the hell is R.C. Christian? Okay.
Yeah.
Now.
Oh, I was also going to say about the stones. You said it was written in 10 languages?
Yes.
So the Rosetta Stone had 3 languages on it. It had Latin, Greek, and I forgot what the language is called. It starts with an X or a Z, but it was the language of the common Egyptians during the time of the Ptolemaic rulers. And that's the reason why we can actually read Greek now is because Latin was on that stone. We also learned, like, it's not as popular known, but we learned that third language, the language of the common Egyptians, from that stone. So maybe this is, if you know one of these languages, you can decipher the rest of the 10 and learn those languages to help you learn about other shit from the past.
Oh, that is a very, very good point, actually. I didn't even think about that. Very interesting. That's a very valid point, Phil. But,
yeah. I was going to say, I remember you said, what were the 4 languages? Were they on the other stone?
Yeah, they were on, like, the explanatory tablet.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking of that point that I made for the 10 languages before with those old languages, but those languages are dead, so I'm not really sure. Maybe that was just put on there for style points.
I mean, it definitely could be. But anyway, back to what I was saying here. Basically, who is R.C. Christian, right? Now, the belief is that R.C. Christian is a reference for Christian Rosencreuz, or Christian Rose Cross in English, okay? Now, Rosencreuz is a reference to the legendary leader who founded the Order of the Red Cross, or the Rosicrucian Order. Now, what do you know about the Rosicrucians?
I know very little about them. I know that there's a charity known as the Red Cross, who most likely isn't up to anything nefarious.
Wink, wink.
Possibly, though.
Wink, wink.
Wink.
No.
Yeah.
So I tried to understand what the fuck the Rosicrucian religion is or whatever, and basically they kept using the word esoteric Christian, and they didn't discriminate against anybody's belief. So it's almost like you join them, you can believe whatever you want, and you're just part of the religious order or something. It was so confusing, I couldn't really comprehend it, but
just as long as you throw money in that basket, baby, you can
that's all
believe
they
whatever
care.
you want.
That's all they give a fuck about.
Yeah.
I always hear about, like, the Rosicrucians, like, handing out pamphlets in, like, big cities like New York or LA, but I don't really know what for, but I've heard that before.
Are they the ones who wear the robes, like they were from, like, Nepal?
I couldn't even tell you.
I've heard of them.
I have no fucking idea. All I know is they always try to get people to, like, join them.
Yeah.
But anyway, the interesting thing about the Rosicrucian Order, or the Order of the Red Cross, is that it has deep connections to the Freemasons and the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, which was founded by 3 Freemasons, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, from what I was reading, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn is essentially a lot of occultic teachings and stuff like that. Now, the other interesting connection is that the Red Cross symbology has a connection to Aleister Crowley, who obviously we know has very interesting beliefs himself, right?
Yep, I was just about to mention that the Golden Order is also associated with him too.
Yeah, so it's like, it kind of makes you wonder initially if these people belong to some secret society or thought they knew better than everybody else because of their religious beliefs, or, like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, one of the theories, I don't know if you're going to go into this, I don't want to step on it, but one of the theories is that the 500 million number comes from the, like, intelligentsia who are secretly satanic.
Really?
Yeah, like these super intelligent people who are actually running the world, maybe they're billionaires who are secretly like geniuses. They are actually trying to like get the population of the world down to 500 million from whatever it's at right now, because humans are like gobbling up resources, destroying the environment. So they're trying to make, basically it's going to be them on top, and then 500 million people who are like the strongest, smartest, who are going to be working for them, and then not have like the excess, like the dreg that we have a lot of on Earth right now.
Well,
according to them.
I think the world's population's at 7 billion right now.
Yeah, it's coming up on 8.
Is it coming up on? Yeah, so they got a lot of work to do, I guess. But
yeah, they're gonna have to bump up COVID super strain.
Well, I was just gonna say, if you believe the crazies on the internet, apparently the Clintons and Bill Gates are the ones who are leading the population control battle. Apparently.
Yeah, a lot of those people, even years after the Clintons die, they're still going to think that they're a part of it, causing this shit.
Well, I did have some of that in my notes, but a lot of people think that message has a lot to do with the Nazi belief system of eugenics and population control. So
yes.
that's kind of where they think that message is coming from. Like, obviously, we know the Nazis wanted to wipe out everybody but who they deemed to be pure or whatever. So they thought maybe that had that kind of a message to it. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, that's also kind of what I was thinking, hearing those, the 10 points that were written on the stone. Whereas, obviously it's not as popular as it was back in the 10s and the 20s. And then time of the Nazis, that's when it really went down. The eugenics ship really sank after fascism ended. But think about how many Nazi scientists were carted into United States, England, Russia, and then some emerging economies who could afford to steal away some of these, scientists. A lot of their beliefs came with them.
So you're saying maybe this could be a rogue group of ex-Nazis that came to America?
Possibly. During the 80s, they would all still be alive. They would, the older ones obviously probably wouldn't have made it the 40 years, but some of the younger ones who came in, who were indoctrinated into that during their youth, they would have still been in their 60s, 70s. So they would have still been influential, had money, had ties, building this up from the bottom. And when you mentioned that guy, when you were talking about who he was building it for, he does sound like he really did emphasize like true Americans. Like he was trying to make it seem like, no, these are fucking Americans, who want this. Americans.
The only counterpoint I'd say to that is that outside of number one, a lot of the shit here has like minimalist hippie beliefs, kind of.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like whenever you see like a store and it's always like best American sub sandwiches or best American blah, 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 you're going to walk in there and see a bunch of people who have immigrated into this country, who either own or work there. It's not to say that's anything bad, but every time it's always, anytime you see like American this or American that, it's always, people who maybe have immigrated to this country or weren't born in the United States. So they always put like an emphasis on American. That's kind of what I thought when you first were talking about how the guy said it's coming from real Americans.
Are you relating that to how when you and I were in Britain, we saw the American store and we instantly went there because we're idiots?
20 pounds for a box of Lucky Charms. Yeah.
Just a store of diabetes. That's what you call that there.
Yeah, it was all imported cereal, candy bars, soda, and just super fucking expensive.
Phil, anyway, back to the story here. Speaking of religion here, I have a couple quotes from religious people that kind of made me laugh about these Guidestones. Okay, so there's a man named Mark Dice, right? His quote is he demanded that the Guidestones, quote, be smashed into a million pieces and then the rubble used for a construction project, claiming that the Guidestones are of a deep satanic origin and that R.C. Christian belongs to a, quote, Luciferian secret society related to the, quote, New World Order. Okay?
Yeah.
So, to be fair to this man, a lot of this in here mentions kind of one world government things, right?
Yeah, so New World Order kind of started a little bit in the 1980s, but really picked up steam, obviously. George H.W. Bush, Vice President Ronald Reagan, when he took over, he had that very famous speech where he talks about the New World Order coming into effect.
Wait, that didn't start on WCW?
No. So WCW got it from basically like George H.W. Bush's speech.
No, I know. I'm
But
just
whenever I think of New World Order, I also think of the
Hulk
NWO.
Hogan,
But,
dude.
Yeah, Kevin Nash and
Fuck
Scott
yeah.
Hall.
I mean, you wouldn't be complaining if, like, those guys were the presidents of the actual NWO, right?
Oh, of the real New World Order?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be just going as swimmingly if they were in charge as if whoever the fuck is running it.
Free steroids and cocaine for everybody.
Yeah, pretty much.
Anyway, another local minister believes that the same things, that the stones are going to be used by, quote, sun worshippers, cult worshippers, and Satan worshippers. I don't even know what a sun worshipper is.
Probably Wiccan, the same people who show up to Stonehenge.
I suppose. When I hear sun worshippers, I don't know if you've ever played Dark Souls, the video game, but they have praise the sun is like a meme in the game, because one of the guys in it keeps saying that. So that's all I can think about.
Well, there is a theory that Christianity is actually just like an amalgamation of all of the other religion tradition on earth, and we're not really praising like a god and then like Jesus. It's actually Jesus is the sun, like Apollo. He's an Apollo-like figure, and his 12 disciples are the 12 constellations.
What's that documentary that says that? Zeitgeist?
Zeitgeist, yeah.
Zeitgeist, yeah. Yeah, I've heard that before. Very, very interesting.
Actually, not joking, it is a pretty good documentary. Some of it's a little full of bullshit, but it's pretty interesting.
You know me with conspiracy theories, Phil. I'm the most cynical motherfucker ever. So.
Yeah, me too. But it was interesting, and you know.
All right, let me go through these last few here. Now, Alex Jones, we all know him.
Patriot.
Apparently, he has a film called Endgame Blueprint for Global Enslavement. Okay. Now, Alex Jones apparently suspects that the Guidestones are a harbinger of self-appointed elites who intend on exterminating most of the world's population. Okay, that's according to Alex Jones. I kind of want to watch this documentary. What do you think?
I have you do hear him talking a lot about the elites who want to exterminate like large portions of the population. I keep thinking back to that Alex Jones video when everyone laughed at him, where he was talking about all of those rich people getting together and dressing up like owls and fucking each other. And then he actually went there and videotaped it happening. All of these wealthy people worshiping this large owl statue.
Yeah, Bohemian Grove.
Bohemian Grove, that's what it's called.
Hell yeah. We gotta cover that at some point.
Yeah, Alex Jones, the problem is, I can't even quite, it's like he gives you a truckload of coal, and there's always one diamond in that truckload of coal. Like, oh yeah, he gave us all of this shit that we don't want, but there's this little particle of truth in that coal you have to look for.
Well,
that's the one problem with Alex Jones.
My understanding of Alex Jones is he started off really small. The Bohemian Grove thing, he actually was like trying to find out conspiracy stuff. Then he got money. Then he leaned in really, really hard, and he just keeps doing it to get more money. Doesn't care about it anymore. He just wants the money. He
has to keep making episodes, keep putting content out there. So,
like, I can't imagine
drifting.
I can't imagine he actually believes that frogs some water turned frogs gay. I cannot actually believe he believes that.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is a lot of like pollution of lakes and rivers, but the tagline to get you in the door, to get you to click on the article is definitely frogs or pollution is turning frogs gay. If he would have said pollution is mutating frogs, then it's like, oh, okay, whatever. Maybe you click on it, maybe you don't. But the whole gay thing, he knew that would get his audience to really buy in.
I'm pretty sure goddamn frogs can change their gender. I'm pretty positive they can.
Some of them can. I mean, we did learn in the great documentary Jurassic Park that was true.
Right. So. Anyway, now another belief is that the George Guidestones are essentially kind of like Stonehenge in the belief that it could be some sort of beacon or some way that humans can communicate with aliens. What do you think about that one?
That's kind of interesting. They have the same beliefs about the pyramids, that the pyramids are either gather energy or that they can send out signals using like the Earth's energy to aliens out there. So, I mean, it's possible if the Georgia Guidestones were built on kind of like a similar spot that they believe that Stonehenge was built on, these ancient sacred geographical landmarks where all of this energy kind of comes to a point. If it turns out the Georgia Guidestones were put there for that reason, that'd be pretty interesting.
No, I mean, yeah, that's it would definitely be interesting. Now, this next one piques my interest a lot because the mention of the time capsule, okay? Now, some people think the time capsule could actually mean some sort of like mysterious object or mysterious artifact, kind of like some people say the Holy Grail or like stuff like that. Stuff like they believe the Templars, right? Didn't they allegedly bury holy artifacts? I'm trying to think of the Ark of the Covenant and all that.
Ark of the Covenant, yeah.
Yes, that's what I kept trying to fucking think of.
Is it possible that they actually put some cocaine chewing gum down in that hole?
Could be.
Like,
I mean, I
guess some
guess
of the most important medical things, from the ancient times.
It'd be kind of hard to get a hold of cocaine chewing gum in 1980. Oh
yeah, that's true.
So I don't know
if they had stored it from the 20s and 10s though. Maybe they had some great medicine, some of that snake oil.
You know what I bet's down there, Phil? A collection of the Subliminal Deception podcast. That's what's down there.
Yeah.
All our episodes.
30 years in advance and even before podcasts.
They had it pre-downloaded.
Yeah. But, just like that dude in France. He just knows it's coming.
Okay, honestly though, do you think this alleged time capsule, they could have put something really interesting in there?
I imagine that if this time capsule is for after the end times, I would hope that they would put some kind of like a manual for restarting the Earth. That's what I hope they would put in there.
Kind of like Titan AE.
Yeah, because I mean, they know, like they put for the time capsule, they put no open on this date, like day on the time capsule. So maybe they're thinking that when people come by and see this, maybe they'll rip open the time capsule and see like, oh, this is how you make a windmill. This is how you make a thing to transport water. This is how you build a civilization back up. This is how you farm animal husbandry, Hopefully it's that kind of stuff.
Actually, that's like really, really smart. I wasn't even thinking about that.
Yeah, I would hope they would put something in there like that for the people who do survive. And it's not going to be the billionaire fucking self-absorbed geniuses who survive. They're going to last about 2 weeks out in the cold. It's fucking assholes.
I hope there's definitely a copy of Star Wars A New Hope.
Oh, yeah.
Would have been the perfect time for that. Anyway, my final thing here, and this kind of makes sense to me. Sub D, we always like to try to get to the most rational thing. Basically, pretty simple. The tensions between U.S. and Russia were pretty high. Obviously, we had Gorbachev first, Reagan, some think that this group of people believe that nuclear war or World War III was basically, it was going to happen. It didn't matter. So they needed to get these Guidestones up because if the whole fucking world's irradiated and there's only a few people left, then they could set them into motion how they wanted the world to happen, I guess, post-apocalypse or whatever.
Yeah.
You know
the
what I
awakening.
mean? Yes. So, or maybe this was their way of stopping humans from ending up how they envision like a nuclear fallout or World War III wouldn't happen or whatever.
That's kind of like the expanded storyline behind Fallout. If you actually, there's a good YouTube video on where they add in all of the video games, like the stories behind them. And they talk about like the 100 years of wars between the new factions that rise up.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, that's the first thing that came to my mind when I read that. But, it kind of does make sense. Obviously, you and I weren't alive, but I can only imagine when you had Reagan tear down this wall and then all of that shit. It probably was a very nerve-wracking time for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, what was it? Between the 1950s and the 1990s, we were living on a knife's edge pretty much, like 5 minutes to midnight the entire time. After the Russians, like it had been discovered that the Russians had found the secret for creating nuclear bombs. I say found, they stole it from the United States, and the Nazis helped, obviously. But
yeah. Well, I mean, from kind of the TV shows and things I've watched, it seemed like a lot of people thought Reagan was a button pusher, right? Like he wasn't going to bow down to the Russians.
Oh, yeah, and that's kind of one of his big strengths was he wasn't going to be the type of guy who took any bullshit. There was one press conference that he did where just to get like the sound guy, basically, you know how before you start like a big interview or a big press conference, they would have the sound guy like play with the dials just to make sure everything was right. One of them was how he claimed that he was outlawing communism and we were sending bombs to the Soviet Union. Well, obviously he was joking. But the Russians were afraid because it was Reagan, and they knew that Reagan wouldn't be fucking around with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he was fucking around with, the sound guy. That's all he was doing.
But yeah. But basically what we're saying is like, maybe because of him, people were more worried that there could have been an escalation.
Oh yeah, definitely a lot more than, before him we had Kennedy, then we had Nixon, who I'm not really sure exactly. I think if he wanted to use nukes, he would have used them. Like, I don't think he really wanted to use nukes that bad. And then Carter is just a total, he wouldn't have dropped any bombs. He barely wanted to send helicopters.
He would have just dropped peanuts.
He might have dropped peanuts. That's, yeah.
Peanuts make people happy. Yeah, I mean, with Nixon, there's that whole, Vietnam thing.
His actually, when he ran for president in 1968, his big thing was getting us out of Vietnam and de-escalating, not going into Cambodia or Laos or any of those countries. And then he had to take that back. But then eventually he got us out of Vietnam.
Yeah. But anyway, you get the point. But,
yeah.
Okay, Phil. So we've been going for a while here now. I need to hear what is your feelings about these Guidestones? What the hell are the purpose of them?
I really think that whoever built them believed that they would be doing a service to like the awakened, the generation that's coming around. They would be doing them a service to help build the earth like in a meaningful, like the best way possible. Because right now it's almost too late. The ship is too big to get it to make a weird, like left turn, like right angle left turn. You can't get us to steer the ship that quick. But if civilization started back up, it would be really malleable and you could actually form it into a perfect society. Something that they believed was a perfect society, I should say. If, let's say, 80% of the world's human population died, and it did get down to below 1 billion, then you could really figure out, like, easily, obviously, it wouldn't be one world. It would be scattered into a bunch of, some would be peaceful, some would be fucking highwaymen pretty much, just like The Walking Dead. But once civilization started coming back around, then people would see these stones and think like, oh, the ancients left this for us, so we don't make their mistakes, you know?
Well,
So I think it's mostly just regular people who had a vision, and they also believed that the end of the world was very soon, like 3 minutes to midnight situation.
it's kind of weird that they'd assume the citizens of Georgia are going to be the only ones left alive to look at these goddamn stones.
Well, Jesus, let's fucking hope not.
Yeah, maybe they think peaches are the key to immortality. I don't know.
Well, they put it in Georgia because if they put it in Alabama, no one would be able to read any of the languages on the fucking stones. If we put it in Georgia, at least there'll be people who can read there.
Very, very, very good point.
Shout out Alabama fans.
Hell yeah, Roll Tide. Anyway,
Roll Tide.
Anyway,
I should say really quick. I don't actually Alabama. I hate that their football team is so good. That's why if I hate your state, it's probably because of the football team.
well, I was gonna say, you know what? That's why we don't like the Packers here because they always whoop everyone's ass. But anyway, Phil, if someone wants to tell us how they feel about the Georgia Guidestones, where can they do that?
They can send it straight to subliminaldpodcast@gmail.com. We actually have gotten quite a bit during this pandemic time, some emails from listeners, and that's great. We love to hear from everybody. Mostly we hear from our fans and our listeners on our Instagram account, Subliminal Deception Podcast on IG. Cody and I also have our own Instagram accounts. Mine's STPodPhil. And I have been using it more and actually posting things lately. So look me up on there. Cody, what's yours?
Yeah, you can follow my personal Instagram at Cody Zabub. I usually don't post too often. I just post trolly, crazy conspiracy people in my story, which are always fun to look at. But yeah, guys, the last thing we need you to do, if you could, log into iTunes, leave the show 5-star review. Doesn't really matter what you say, just type something in there. If you're a Spotify user, hit that follow button and always be updated when the show drops a new episode. Otherwise, guys, I hope you all enjoyed the episode. Maybe do your own research on the Georgia Guidestones, see what you think of them. It's an interesting thing, to say the least. But otherwise, we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, guys.